Good evening, guys. Happy Saturday to all of your sunshiny faces. It's so weird to not have a haul for you guys today, and I won't have one for you guys tomorrow either because we got all the shopping done. You know, all of our just regular grocery shopping, which, like, the way we split it up, because it kind of makes it so that, like, you know, I mean, we just kind of pop into the grocery store. We'll go, again, to, like, Meijer normally one day during the week, Jewel and Aldi one day on the weekend, and then my dad stops at Tony's and Caputo's on his way home from work, which honestly too is not that big of a deal. Like, the thing is that I feel like because of the way we grocery shop, there's very few times, I mean, it does happen, but it's not very common that we end up running out of something and then being like, oh, we ran out of this, we have to go and stop at, you know, the grocery store or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And my dad would probably have to stop on his way home from work, or my mom would have to run out and go and get it, or like stop if she was already out and go and grab it, or again, whatever it is. And so again too, it doesn't happen all that often. You know, that, like I said, we're like running out to the store being like, oh my goodness, we need to get this for dinner tonight or something like that. We do a lot of planning ahead of time. So again too, it's just the days when we schedule grocery shopping that we're normally just grocery shopping. You know, instead of somebody being like, I don't know what to cook for dinner tonight, let's make this, and then we don't have any ingredients for that specific thing, or again, something like that. So it just works out pretty well. I think I shared with you guys maybe back in December, possibly. I actually think it was the beginning of, not the beginning of January, but the first time that we went back to Meijer after the holidays, and I ended up getting that whiteboard, that little whiteboard, again too, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was right before Christmas or something like that, but we ended up picking up that little whiteboard for the refrigerator, and we have two, well actually no, we have three whiteboards that are on the refrigerator. One's our like calendar, a monthly calendar that's like a dry erase calendar, and then the other one like a weekly kind of schedule. It says like each letter of the day of the week is on there, and so we use that for like meal planning. So again too, like I wrote out all the stuff that I plan on making for this week for you know, for cooking when on the days that I cook, and then when my mom cooks too, like she'll write out like the menu plan for those days that she cooks, and that way we can kind of just stay organized. And like for me too, it's helpful because I can stay organized, and then also too, if people are like, oh, what are we having for dinner tonight, normally you can look on the calendar or into that little wipe off board and see like what day it is and then kind of what we're having. Again, sometimes it does change. Like I was wanting to do salsa chicken this week and I couldn't find it, but I did find pasta chicken, so we ended up going with that, so it worked out. So like I said, that was a little bit of a slight change in the plans, but it wasn't that big of a deal because we didn't really have anything that we bought specifically for that meal that I was like planning on cooking that we then didn't end up having. So again, it was fine, it all worked out. But on the other little whiteboard that we have, it's just a little plain one. It's a little bit bigger than like the day of the week one that we have, and we do like the meal plan on. But like I said, it's kind of like a regular, like average, like small average sized like wipe off board. And what we've been doing on there, which has been super helpful, I kind of don't know why we didn't do this before. Like we would sometimes have like a paper like on a magnet and like have it on the fridge, and then people would write things down on it or whatever, but it wasn't always very reliable. So what has actually been working really well lately has been using it for like our grocery list for when we run out of something. So it's helpful for when I end up making my grocery list, like again too, if I'm like, oh, you know, we're gonna go to Jewel this week, and I notice that somebody says, oh, we need this thing, and I see that it's on sale at Jewel and possibly cheaper than what I could get it for at Aldi or like, you know, Walmart or whatever. And so, you know, like I said, we'll have that list, and it's been really helpful because when somebody runs out of something, the list is right there, it's right on the fridge, and you can just write down what's on it. Again, too, we've used things like that kind of in the past, like I said, like pads of paper, or like I think we've had like wipe off boards, but a lot of times too, because it's sometimes different people going and doing the shopping or whatever, a lot of times people will send something in a text message, oh, we're out of this, can someone pick it up, or oh, Kayla, don't forget to add this to the grocery list too, because a lot of times I'll do the grocery shopping since I do the couponing, and again too, all of the deals and stuff like that. So a lot of times I'm just like, if anybody has anything that they need, just send it to me or let me know what it is, and then I'll add it. But again too, it's been a little bit difficult sometimes because if somebody does send something in a text message, sometimes it might get lost or misplaced. And you know, again too, you get so many text messages from a person and you don't end up seeing it. Or also too, again, on a piece of loose leaf, or not loose leaf paper, but again, like on a notepad or something like that, it might be written on there, but then somebody wrote down doctor's appointment information and numbers that they need to remember to call or something else, and then all of a sudden the milk that was on that piece of paper all of a sudden gets completely lost, and now nobody remembers that we needed milk because the paper ended up off with somebody else that needed to hold on to it for something. And anyways, then it can kind of end up, you know, like I say, turning into a little bit of a problem because somebody will be like, oh, I put that on the list, and then the list's not there anymore because somebody took the paper or all kinds of other stuff got scribbled on it and now I can't read it anymore, or just kind of overlook it or whatever. And also too, when I'm sometimes making my grocery list, I normally do everything in like an email, and I will email it to myself and a lot of times to whoever else is going, so that I always have a backup copy of it so that I never lose or forget my list in case I forget my phone. Very, very rarely. I think there's honestly been 2 times where I've forgotten my phone that we went out grocery shopping and I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have the list. Or my dad, which happens more often than me, winds up forgetting his phone. And so he won't end up having the list to be able to check to, again, to like go off of what we need to pick up at the grocery store. And again, too, when I'm typing stuff out for Meijer or Jewel or whatever, it's just easier for me to do it in like an email, because normally I'm doing it at my computer, so it's in front of me anyway, instead of like sending a text message, which can kind of get long and weird, and it's hard to sometimes like bullet point things, which is what I normally do, just because again, too, it's easier to read in an email and follow along with in the list. And like, I also like to put like the grocery store aisle if it's like applicable to that store. So like, you know, if I'm like, oh, you know, at Meijer in aisle 4 is, you know, they have the pizza or whatever, and like on Meijer's website, they're really good because they actually have the aisle number listed, so it's way easier for you to find the products when you're shopping at the store. And Walmart does that too. I think Target does it. Jewel does, but only in the app. If I'm doing online on like the desktop version, which is a lot of times what I am doing when I'm making my list, they don't have the aisle number, so that one's a little bit weird. Tony's also has one as well where I can do that for my dad to make things a little bit easier. And then Caputo's, I don't think has, like, they don't have the aisle numbers listed for the products. A lot of times they do that because of the grocery pickup, because I think that it's, again, too, the way they organize and categorize everything is for those like store employees, or even to like, I don't know, like the Instacart, you know, shoppers, Uber Eats people, stuff like that too. They can easily then find the food in the store a lot easier to know if like, oh, they are genuinely out of it, or it's just they can't find it in the store or whatever. So it does make it sometimes, I think, easier on, like I said, that. Or also too, again, like for Walmart, you know, if they're doing like a pickup order, you know, they can easily find the item because of the way it's categorized. And I think they just transfer that over into the app for like everybody else and the way they use it as well. Which again too, I'm not a Walmart employee or a Target employee or anything like that, so I don't even know if it's not the exact same thing that the app is anyway, or like if they have like a separate like employees kind of section where they get the list of like those type of orders or how it works. But you know, like I said, it's kind of similar. Like even Menards does that. They have like a store map, and then they'll show you like based on the store map. They even have gone further now and will tell you like the subcategory in the aisle. Like they'll have like aisle 4, and then they'll have like A through like, you know, F or something like that, and each of them is like a different section of like the shelving units. And so if it's like, oh, aisle 4C, and then you can easily find, because they'll have the numbers up on the top of like the actual aisle, like where 4C is then, so it makes it a lot easier. So like I said, that's really cool. I like that because there's been a couple times where I'm like, I can't find it. It says it should be in this aisle. And then sure enough, they're like, oh, aisle. And then I'm like, oh, C, okay. And then we look, and then I'm like, oh, it's right here. Like we find it right away then after that. So, like I said, they, you know, it's just, that's one of the other reasons why I like doing my list the way I kind of do it. It makes the grocery shopping process faster as well, because even though I have to spend a little bit more time making the list, going through the grocery store takes very minimal time too. Like I was telling you guys, we go out several times a week to go grocery shopping, but you know, again too, it does not take as long. It's not like we're just window shopping and moseying around the store and stuff like that. We're normally done in and out very quickly. But back to the whiteboard. So like I said, we've been using this now to keep track of like all the grocery list things, because it's easier for me to, again, when I'm making that list, to go to those grocery stores, just to be able to look at that and see what's been updated, instead of somebody telling me and then me forgetting to add it to my list. Because again too, if I haven't started my list for that specific store, if I'm like, I know that, you know, again, Jewel's not gonna have any sale on XYZ thing, or will most likely be cheaper at Aldi or whatever, you know, we'll plan on getting it there or something like that, then you know, when I'm making my list, if I don't have the like Aldi list ready and I haven't started it yet, sometimes I forget to add it. For example, if somebody's like, we're out of milk, you know, Kayla, can you add it to list? I'd be like, oh sure. And then I'd be like, wait, I didn't start the list yet. I'll just remember to add milk to the list when I go to make my grocery list, and then when I do, I forget to add it. So it's just really helpful to go there and like double check against the, you know, the list that people make. And then also too, it's really helpful like when you're in the kitchen, just literally like earlier in the week, maybe it was Monday or something like that, I don't remember. It was one day my mom was making soup, going through the pantry because she asked for chicken bouillon cubes, and I realized we only had like 2 left after I given her what she needed, which was a couple, and I was like, okay, I gotta add this to the list. So I put it on there, and then again too, that would have been something that I would have totally forgot by like today when we went to the store. But because again too, I put it on the list when I noticed we were out of it, and I was in the kitchen anyway right next to the refrigerator, I just put it on the list. And like everybody's been doing that too. If there's also something specific that like somebody wants, like I could really use some Gatorade or something like that, you know, then they'll end up, you know, putting it on the list or whatever, just so that we can go and grab that. Even if maybe I don't have a sale on it, we might end up picking up at Aldi or possibly like at Walmart or something like that, as well. And then Walmart though, we normally only do like once a month, so some of that stuff might have to stay on the grocery list for a little while, or you know, on the whiteboard, because we don't end up having, you know, we normally only go to Walmart like once a month, just for like things that Aldi doesn't carry, if it's something that we need, unless it's something like really emergent that we need, like, oh, we're completely out of this and Aldi doesn't carry it and we need it for this thing, then somebody might have to go out when we're not planning on doing it. But again too, if it's like a, you know, like, oh, we need this and you know, we're almost out of it or whatever, but we probably won't need to use it again before the time we would go to Walmart, then we will go and pick it up. So like I said, it has been working out so well. Like just these last couple weeks that we've been using it, like everybody's been writing down the stuff that they want, or again too, the stuff that we're out of, because again too, with a lot of people in a household, you don't realize like somebody used up the last of the ketchup and nobody wrote down that they used up the last of the ketchup and that we're out. And so sometimes though, what's also helpful is that like, say somebody uses up the last of the ketchup and I'm like, oh no, we have some more in the pantry. At least this way I can go check in the pantry, make sure we have it, get it out, put it back in the fridge now and open it up, you know, and be like, okay, we have a brand new thing of ketchup. Because obviously too, you're looking for the opened ketchup in the refrigerator, but you're probably maybe not checking the pantry or whatever. So even though it goes on the list doesn't necessarily mean that it's something we need. It might also be something we need to check to make sure that we're out of, because that specific bottle of whatever was open was used up. So again too, when I buy and coupon kind of for stuff and things like that, I'm buying in bulk sometimes, so we might end up having like 3 ketchups left over in the pantry, you know, including the one that's open in the fridge, and then when that one's up, we might need to go and open up another ketchup from the pantry. So like I said, it's like that kind of stuff too, that like, again, somebody might not find it or might not see it or whatever, that's a brand new unopened one, and so it might go on the list just to remind somebody that like, if we are out, we might need to get it. If not, someone needs to double check to make sure that it's in there. Or again too, like you might overlook something that somebody else might end up finding, you know, in the pantry or the refrigerator, or again, whatever it is. And you know, if you're like, oh, I think we're out of this, or I can't find it or whatever, and so you put it on the grocery list like sour cream, and then somebody goes in there and is like, look, I found the sour cream, it's in here, and then we can just mark it off the list. But at least that way it kind of gives everybody a heads up of like, maybe we're out of this thing. And so like I said, I feel like it's been very helpful recently in doing that and kind of keeping everybody on the same page too, as far as like, we ran out of of milk. Like I saw that on the fridge and I was like, oh, we're out of milk. Like I was gonna make something and I saw it on the fridge and it said milk on the list, and I was like, okay, well that's out. I'm not making that for myself, or again having that or whatever it was, because you know we were out of milk. So you know, it just kind of also gives people possible heads up that we might be out of something as well, instead of going through the refrigerator trying to look for it, you know, especially if it's like a smaller thing like sour cream or something like that. I can just be like, oh, somebody used up the last of it, so now I know we don't have any more left, and that's why it's on the grocery list. So again, we did go to Aldi today this morning, was up super early to go there this morning, but again too, just basically went off the list that was on the fridge, and then we just ended up going there, and like I said, there was maybe 1 or 2 other things that we picked up that weren't originally on the list, but it's kind of just like that, you know, the stuff that we know we're out of, we just go ahead and pick up. You know, or if again too somebody's like, oh, you know, we haven't bought this in a while but I'd like to get it, you know, or something like that, whatever it is. And so that's why too we just try and, you know, again stick to the list of, you know, again things that we know that we ran out of during the week, and then we go to Aldi and pick up. Or again too, like I said, when I'm making my grocery list, if my mom wrote down like, oh, I really like some stew meat, that was one thing that she wrote down. Aldi actually didn't have it today, so I'm gonna try and look for some sales on some potential like beef stew meat kind of stuff, and see if I can't maybe get a deal or a sale on it at maybe one of the other grocery stores, just because again too, it was like if we can't get something or can't find something at a different store, we just pick it up at Aldi. But if I could find a deal or a sale on something that, you know, again I could get cheaper than at Aldi, like if I could find maybe a deal at Caputo's next week or something like that, I'll go ahead and pick it up instead of getting it at Aldi where I might be able to get it cheaper. But again too, it gives me that option of being able to look and try and find those other better sales at other grocery stores. So like I said, it does take up a little bit of my time like doing all of that, but it also, I feel like, just saves time, like into with our grocery list kind of situation, how things have been working recently. It just is a lot better than getting like a huge big list too of stuff where people are like, oh, I needed all of these things, and I was like, I never knew, like, you know, Oregon too, I'm spending all this time now looking for all of these things, because again too, like all this stuff that somebody thought we didn't have that maybe we did have or whatever it is, it's actually been, I feel like, maybe a little bit, maybe, I don't know if I'd say a time saver, but maybe a little bit of a sanity saver also too, because I don't end up forgetting things, and then I mark it off the list once I come home from the grocery store with it. So if I know that I've made it into the house with the item, then I mark it off the list and I'm like, okay, we're done, we have this, we don't need to buy another, you know, or whatever it is. So it just, and it's just a little, you know, eraser on the you know, we have a little one that sticks to the fridge too, we use that, just mark it off so that, you know, we're all good, and again too, everybody's on the same page, which I feel like is really helpful. So you know, and like I said, it goes for like making dinners, it goes for just like snack stuff, or just regular like little, you know, again, staple items, milk and sugar, flour, butter, eggs, that kind of stuff. If we were to run out of that, at least we know those are things that we need to pick up. Or if it's specifically like, oh, I'm cooking dinners this week and I need XYZ thing, or, you know, like I said too, like Jack's like, oh, we don't have any cereal, I want some cereal, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, it just, like I said, makes it a lot more helpful in having that list. And again, everybody can kind of, you know, again, contribute as well to that without me being like, okay, does anybody know of like anything that we're out of? And like, that's also the other tough thing, is that if you don't do it in the moment, you sometimes forget it. So that's why having it in the kitchen right on the refrigerator is so helpful, because we'll just be like, oh, we're out of this, okay, write it down on there right now, you know. And like I said, I've seen so many different handwritings on there. That's how I know everybody's been contributing to it. Like, I saw my dad's handwriting, Jack was writing stuff down on there, my mom, me, like, we actually have all been using it. And like I said, it's weird how, like, normally, like, it doesn't catch on, I feel like, that quickly, but like just in like a couple weeks, really, we've all been using it, and it's been very helpful this way. So anyways, I will see you guys though all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.